for that very interesting introduction. Now I'll hand you over to Francesco of the Zeitgeist Movement. We'll speak about 20 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. That's
what time I have.
Okay, about 20 minutes. Okay, after that, I'll open the floor to questions. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, first and foremost, a brief introduction about the Zeitgeist Movement, because many of you, or some of you, may not know what this organization is. So just very quickly, it's a movement, a global movement that was born. It was founded in 2009 by the American filmmaker Peter Joseph. And it's a movement that advocates global sustainability and the application of the scientific method to address problems that we are facing today. It doesn't recognize any races, any political parties, any form of division between human beings, and it aims at implementing, or better, at replacing the current economic model based on money with what we call, or may call, a resource-based economy, or an economy that is based on the intelligent and sustainable management of the world resources for the benefit of all human beings. This said, thank you, Dick, for your very interesting analysis on about the shortcomings of capitalism. I will link to what you have said and try to add further material and food for thought for the people that are here today. I think that one very important aspect that you mentioned is this imperative of growth that this economy seems to really demand. And actually, I think that to understand better this imperative of growth and this obsession with this GDP figures that we seem to hear a lot of time, from mainstream media, and the GDP shrinking, which is GDP is not growing enough. So I think that we have to address really the fundamental nature of what money is. Actually, the fundamental question, try to understand what money is. And actually, we hear a lot talking about debt today. That countries are in debt, there's sovereign debt. We are in the age of austerity. There have been cuts that have been sort of imposed on citizens by the governments because there is too much debt. I don't see as much and as often an analysis of the origin of debt. What is the source of debt? And I actually researched a little bit in the last few years about this topic. And actually, it's quite impressive to actually find out that actually money itself today, most of the money that we use is born out of debt. Actually, I don't know how familiar you are with this subject, but money today is no longer exclusively these little pieces of paper with the image of the Queen printed on them, or the coins. But actually, the vast majority of money that we use today is the so-called electronic money, which is the money that you have in your bank account. For instance, online banking. Maybe some people get paid in cash, but most people probably will receive some money on their bank account at the end of the month. And actually, that kind of money is the money that we mostly use today. Actually, 97% of the entire money supply it is created in this way, electronically. And actually, the origin of that money supply, that money is in the form of credit money. When a commercial bank extends credit to one of us, that means mortgages, that includes loans. All that money is money that the bank actually creates out of nothing. It may seem very strange today to hear this. I don't know how familiar you are with this concept, but it is created out of nothing because banks are actually exploiting a loophole in the legislation. Actually, banks cannot create paper money anymore. That was outlawed by conservative prime minister in, I think, 1848, but don't trust me on the dates. I brought some references for you if you want to look more into the subject. Maybe we can have that later. It was that law prevented private banks from creating their own money. If you had lived in like 2 centuries ago, you may have found very sort of like common to actually trust the bank and use the money, the paper money they were issuing. But that led to a lot of like run of the banks, bankruptcies and failure. So the government legislated and prohibited the creation of paper money by commercial banks. But fast forward 150 years, and we are in the age of internet, electronic payments, and nobody has forbidden banks from, creating electronic money. So that's what they are doing. It's not that they are telling us that they are doing it. We still go to a bank today. We need a mortgage. We need a loan. We go to the nice, happy, smiling clerk, banker at the branch. We ask for a loan. He casts a harsh look on us. Be careful, it's money, behave. But actually, they are not giving to you anybody's saving. Actually, it's not that they are taking my grandmother's saving and giving them to you when they extend loan. They're just manufacturing brand new money out of nothing, and they are giving it to you. They want it back with interest. But we have a little problem here. I don't know if you can spot the problem. They can't. They do not actually trade the interest to pay back that loan, and that creates a little mathematical problem. It means that let's say, I don't know, we want to buy a house. We need 200 grand to buy a house. We get them. We pay them back in 25, 30 years, whatever. And probably, if we add the interest on such a long timeline, we may end up paying twice as much. So we pay 400 grand, actually 400,000 pounds. But who created that extra 200,000 pounds in interest? Well, really, strictly speaking, nobody created it. You have to go out and compete with other fellow human beings in order to earn that money. But we have a problem here. That money, it will probably be created along the way, because 30 years is a long time, and other people will get into that. So the money supply will expand, it will grow. So there's going to be some extra money. But all that money will also have been created as debt. So you understand here the mathematical problem. There is an inherent scarcity in money. There is not enough money around to pay all the debts. The irony is that if you were to pay down all the debts that we have today, personal debts, commercial debts, government debt, actually we wouldn't have enough money to do so, because we said there's also the interest to pay back. And even if we managed actually the entire money supply, well, bar this 3% that exists in the form of coins and paper money, the entire money supply would be obliterated. It would disappear, because when banks create money out of nothing, well, they do the actually, when you pay them back, they do the opposite. They destroy money, always in electronic form. So there's no paper money. It's just through accountancy rules. So that money gets destroyed, and that obviously has an impact, meaning that the money supply is reduced. The money supply cannot shrink because of interest-bearing debt that is growing, that we have seen is the hallmark of all the money created. And that creates that imperative of growth that we see today everywhere. So everybody seems to be obsessed with the GDP simply because growth is a necessity, and it has to be an exponential growth, because if you look at the compound interest, actually compound interest has to grow exponentially, and that's why we are always looking at GDP figures in percentage compared to the percentage compared to the previous year, because that's a geometrical growth, it's an exponential growth. A steady state economy, which would be a very natural thing to have in a world that has finite resources, is impossible in the current monetary system. It cannot happen. And this obviously creates a big problem for the economy and for human beings. A problem that we are seeing today, it's becoming more and more apparent that this monetary system is definitely not sustainable. It has to be changed, and there are actually underway movements. There are newborn movements that are trying to reform the monetary system and try to bring it to a more sustainable level, and to propose legislation actually to prevent private commercial banks from creating money, and they will be constrained to actually lend only the money that they actually have in deposit, and the depositor, the saver, will also have a say in how its money is or her money is used, because today we just deposit money in a bank, and then the bank can do whatever they please with the money. They can fund environmentally destructive projects like extracting oil from Canadian tar sands, or they can invest in very profitable weapons manufacturing like they're doing, or they can create speculative bubbles, they can invest in derivatives, they can speculate on commodity prices. So there's no scrutiny really on how banks use this money. And well, one possible way would be to make them more accountable. But anyway, the monetary reform is not really something that is in the scope of the Zeitgeist movement, but I'm trying to cover this because I think that the source of money and money as debt itself is not looked at very often, or not enough, unfortunately. And I think that a lot of people today are discussing more about the symptoms of the problems, but not actually the root causes. And I personally think that the way money is created is the very engine of this debt enslavement that we see today, and also the push, the necessity to destroy the environment and to damage human beings because of the growth imperative. So after having said that, well, by the way, if you're interested in knowing more, there is a very interesting book that tries to investigate actually and into the source of money. It's a quite recent book created by the NEF, the EU Economic Foundations, with contributions by Positive Money, which is a grassroots organization that is trying to bring about reforms of the monetary system, and also some economists like Richard Turner and Andrew Jackson. So this is, I think, a good starting point to understand this money as debt concept. Another interesting source is this DVD, Money as Debt. It's part of a series of 3 DVDs that is freely available on the internet, made by a Canadian reformer called Paul Grignon. They're all available on the internet for free. And another interesting book that looks at the broader, more broader analysis, a bit like what Dick has presented us on the impact on labor, on the environment, etc. It's called The Grip of Death by Michael Overtown, and it was written in '98. It's quite a compelling book that I recommend to you. And there's also this very nice. Probably not,
explain the difference between capitalism and
Excuse me.
I don't accept all this economic theory.
Sorry. We weren't on this discussion yet.
Yes. Maybe I should carry on.
Yeah, you carry on.
Okay. As I said, the monetary reform is not really in the scope of the Zeitgeist movement because the Zeitgeist movement thinks that even a reform monetary system is not to be good enough. Why? Because money, in its very nature, embodies scarcity. We only need money when goods are scarce. If we have an abundance of goods, services, and even information today, more and more products are going digital. They are sort of like appearing in this form of information, music, books, ideas. There's a transition into sort of like the digital world, and actually. Abundance renders money useless. How much are you willing to pay to drink water when you live next to a
money doesn't have much meaning in that context. So money and scarcity are intimately connected concepts, and with the accelerating progress that technology is actually witnessing in terms of technology, we see that more and more things are becoming abundant. Today you can get music and films from the internet. You don't need to pay for software anymore because there is open source, there is free software, and it's a very successful example of how collaboration instead of competition can lead to a large success. And we have seen a lot of results in these fields, making available operating systems and software, so we don't need to pay anymore for these things. And the entire idea of intellectual property and copyright is being through initiatives like Creative Commons, for instance, of the Copyleft initiative by the Free Software Foundation, and it may happen that money can be reformed, and I personally think that it should be reformed. Actually, that is part of a transition to a moneyless world. But I think that if we get it right and we manage to implement the right form of money, actually money will make itself less and less relevant over time, possibly through a deflationary process, meaning that the prices of things will actually just go down, continuously go down. So that would be something that is desirable, actually. Why should the price of everything just keep on going up? That way we are never going to get rid of money. So why not actually having the opposite and having to pay less and less for what we need until we pay enough? So the technological advances are enabling actually things that were unthinkable in the past, and are also displacing human labor to an unprecedented level. Actually, we see more and more jobs being automated, and more human beings actually being rendered non-necessary because machines don't go on strike, they don't take holidays, they don't stop the work, 24/7, and human beings are a cost in the current monetary and economic system. They appear under the cost item, and so they are the first to be let go and the first item to be eliminated, when obviously there is a need for profit maximization, which is again an imperative, as we have said before. And so how does this economic system how can it work actually? How can it be sustainable where less and less people will be in a job, less and less people will have the income to actually consume, because this is a society based on cyclical consumption, as it was pointed out earlier. And so obviously unemployment and growing unemployment is an issue, and growing productivity is also a reality. Machines are actually enabling growing productivity while actually the employment curve is going down. So obviously this is not compatible with the current system that demands grow and that demands income. And this is another, I think, quite important aspect that is being often overlooked. But the concept of money as scarcity, as we have said earlier, is sort of like necessary today, and it's also one, I think, of the main levers of control and power that sort of like the elite or the restricted number of people that are running the world need, because again, money is a very potent lever of control, and if it goes away, religion used to be in the past, maybe it's less relevant today, especially in the Western world. Today we have more maybe money that keeps us going on the treadmill. If that goes away, then the people who control the system will have obviously less opportunity actually to force us to labor, to force us to comply with the current socio-economic models. So I think these are quite important models to concepts to ponder.
If
Thank you very much.
Thank you.